Hello and welcome to your March safety meeting. We're going to be going over hand and power tools, PPE or personal protective equipment, noise exposure, and hearing conservation. This all comes from 1926-30, 1910-132, 1926-28, and 1910-95. Hand and power tool safety. So hand tools are simple tools used to make tasks easier and more efficient. They're used when the worker's hands cannot complete the task. They can be simple or highly complex. These are some dangers of power tools: cuts, scrapes, pinching, amputations, impaling, and any kind of smashing. We want to make sure we choose the right tool for the right job. So we're going to talk about proper tool selection. We want to choose the correct size tool for the job. Don't use tools for jobs they are not intended for. Avoid slipping while using tools. Hold the tool firmly in the hand, and then you can determine whether a glove is needed to maintain a proper grip on that tool. And you should wear the proper PPE for the tool being used. This is hand and power tool safety for knives and razors. You want to use extra care when using razors or knives. Keep blades sharp. A dull knife can actually be more dangerous than a sharp knife. Cut away from you. Don't cut towards other people. Hold them with a firm grip. Use the proper knife for the proper job. Store the blade put away or facing down. You want to try to avoid pocket knives. Use the correct knife. And always cut away from the body and yourself. For hammers, choose the correct hammer for the job. Do not use other tools that are not hammers as a hammer. A very common one would be a crescent wrench. It is not a hammer. Your fist is not a hammer. And you should hold the handle at the base. You should not choke up on the hammer handle. Use brass hammers in areas that sparks can ignite materials, and keep your body out of the swing path in case you miss. For pliers and wrenches, keep hands clear of pinch points, adjust them properly before beginning work, be aware of metric and standard sizes, and try to choose fixed size wrenches before choosing any kind of adjustable size wrenches. For power tools are especially dangerous because they have high speed turning or rotating parts that are designed to provide torque or cutting power. These pose high risks because contact with the power tool can cause immediate serious injuries to the user. Drills are used to drive screws, drill holes, or mix items. Be sure the drill is appropriate for the type of work being done. Make sure the bit is correct for the type of work and the correct size. Always hold the drill firmly so you can maintain control. And be aware of what is behind what you're drilling into. Whether it's a wall, a pipe, or anything like that, be aware of what is behind it. We also have saws. Saws can pose a major threat to users due to the high-speed spinning, reciprocating, or rotating blades. Users should use extreme cautions when using powered saws. Always allow saws to stop completely before setting them down. Never leave the plug in when unattended. And never cut towards yourself or other people. If a saw is designed with a guard in mind, the guard should be there at all times. Make sure it is secure and correctly fastened. We also have grinders. So high-speed spinning parts and flying debris cause heightened dangers with grinders. Wear earplugs and face shield with safety glasses, long-sleeve shirts, and gloves. Hold the grinder firmly, and do not spray sparks towards others or flammable equipment. Always set a grinder on its back and wait for the wheel to stop spinning before you set it down. Make sure all guards are in place and perform a ring test on grinding wheels. A ring test is a very simple process. You take either a stone that is from the manufacturer or a certain kind of hammer, you hit the grinding wheel, and it should resound and ring. If it does not, then there is damage to it. If it is a dull thud, there might be a crack or some sort of damage, and the wheel has a high chance of explosion. For tool safe use, you should always know what PPE is required for different tools and make sure to wear them. Be on the lookout for others in the area. Complete a JSA before beginning work with the tools, and choose the appropriate and correct tool for the job. That is all we have for tools, but now we're going to move into PPE, or personal protective equipment, and what employees need to know. You should understand the PPE assessment process, understand why different types of PPE are selected, and know how to properly wear and care for the PPE that is provided. This is the hazard assessment. On the right is the hierarchy of controls. So we start with elimination, go to substitution, engineering, administrative, and then PPE. Elimination is always the most effective. PPE is the least effective. If you look at a lot of things, all the way from elimination to administrative, those are what we call active methods. We're actively trying to remove the hazard, remove you from it, guard it, or make you aware of it so you can protect yourself. PPE is our last line of defense. So we have to wait for a hazard to get to us for it to protect us. There's a lot of human error with it. There's a lot of damage that we can have with it. It is not a very effective means. We should evaluate every job function, determine if hazards are present, check for hazards to all parts of the body, determine the appropriate PPE for that job task, and understand that PPE is the last line of defense. Your sword and your shield have been knocked away, and now all you have left is your suit of armor. Your face and eye assessment. So we have to look out for flying particles, molten metal, hazardous liquids, acid or caustic liquids, gases or vapors, and light radiation, and then protect you from them. We should also do a respiratory protection hazard assessment. So we should look for airborne dust or particulates, vapors or fumes, a lack of adequate oxygen. We should monitor the exposure, review the work processes, and identify the specific sources of those dangers. We have a hearing hazard assessment, so we should conduct a noise survey. It's all about time, distance, and shielding. We should monitor any kind of impacted employees and repeat the monitoring to make sure the readings are accurate. We have a head hazard assessment, so we can have falling objects, exposed electrical conductors, low-hanging obstructions, suspended loads, or sharp objects in paths or near slippery surfaces. A hard hat is actually designed to deflect, so we want to make sure that it's going to appropriately deflect and protect your head. We have foot hazard assessments. You could have falling, rolling, or sharp objects. We have different electrical hazards, slippery walking surfaces. You could come into contact with hazardous materials, or just cold weather conditions like snow and ice. Scoria can be dangerous as well. Scoria can give traction, but when it is frozen or full of water and then frozen into ice, it can become a very large sheet of slippery material. We also have ice, snow, and compacted snow. This can be very dangerous, obviously. It gets rid of a lot of the friction you need to step on the ground and stay upright. These are some ways we can increase friction, though, with chains, PVC grips, or midsole cleats. Just make sure you have the appropriate friction device for the boots you wear or whatever your company requires. We have hand hazard assessment. So we have to prevent skin absorption of harmful substances. We have to watch out for severe cuts or lacerations. We can also have severe abrasions. We want to make sure we protect you from punctures, chemical burns, thermal burns, and any kind of frostbite that you could occur at work. We have clothing assessments. So hot or cold materials or objects, hazardous materials, welding hazards, heavy, sharp, or rough materials, and any kind of moving machinery. When we're selecting eye and face protection, we can look at prescription eyewear, shaded filter lenses, and face shields for some basic face protection, and then safety glasses and goggles for eye protection. Just be aware they must be rated ANSI Z87 to be approved and worn as safety glasses. Wear and care of eye protection. They should fit comfortably. They should not distort or block your vision. You should put them on before exposure, obviously. You should clean them regularly so you can see through them and they do not obstruct your vision. Dispose of them when they're damaged. And eye protection with scratches that prevent clear vision always need to be discarded. When we're selecting respiratory protection, we have to look at different levels of protection. There's lowest, medium, and highest. The highest is going to be supplied air, full face piece, pressure demand, breathing apparatus. So like an SCBA or an SAR. We have medium protection, like a cartridge half mask. A full mask can be used as well with a cartridge. We have lowest protection, like a filtering half mask or a dusk mask. These are the different kinds of supplied air respirators we have. We have air supplied respirators, like you can see in that picture on the left, and self-contained breathing apparatuses, like you see on the right. For wear and care of respiratory protection, we should always conduct a fit test first, inspect our respirators before each use, and have a MEQ and medical approval before we use them. We should always check the seals, clean them regularly, and store them properly. Replace if any defects are found. For hearing protection, we have earmuffs, earplugs, and canal caps. Earmuffs give you the highest protection, earplugs give you medium protection, and canal caps give you the lowest form of protection. We'll talk about the wear and care of head protection. It should always fit properly. You should inspect it before each use. You should clean it regularly, and it's used only to protect the head. When we're selecting feet protection, steel-toed boots, metatarsal protection, puncture or slip-resistant soles, chemical resistance, or waterproof and cold weather footwear should be worn in appropriate areas. They should all fit ANSI Z41. Our boots should fit comfortably. We should inspect before we put them on or use them. There should be no cracks or holes in chemical or waterproof boots. You want to check your soles for excessive wear, and you want to keep them clean as possible. When we select hand protection, we want to know what kind of dangers we have with that assessment. That will tell us what kind of protection we need. So you can have impact gloves, chemical resistant gloves, Kevlar metal mesh or cut resistant gloves, leather work gloves, extreme temperature gloves, or electrical work gloves. All our hand protection should comfortably fit. We should inspect it before each use. We should keep clean and dry, and always discard if damaged or contaminated. For fall protection, we have to check the tightness of the fit, make sure it fits you appropriately, not too loose, not too tight. It can only have 0 defects. If it even has 1 defect, it must be taken out of service and a new one provided. The tags must be legible, the connectors must move freely, and always have the proper D-ring placement. It is the D-ring in the middle of your shoulder blades, not the one on your lower back or on the sides. Selecting general work clothing. So long sleeve shirts and long pants, flame retardant clothing, no loose clothing or jewelry, and if you need it, chemical resistant clothing. Some key points to remember: every job function in every department is assessed for hazards. Every part of the body is taken into consideration during assessments, and PPE is selected in response to specific hazards after engineering controls have been established. Proper wear and care of PPE is also necessary to provide effective protection. With that, we're going to go to noise exposure and hearing conservation. These are some known industrial hazardous noise equipments and areas. So we have like frac sites, compressors, pumps, heavy equipment like trucks, loaders, or etc., drills, grinders, really anything that makes a loud noise or can damage your hearing. These are the effects of noise exposure. We have inevitable hearing loss over time. As you get older, your hearing just starts to go. It is just a deterioration of our body. Loud noises damage and can even destroy nerves of the inner ear. And similar to a patch of grass, light treading causes minimal damage, but significant or prolonged exposure causes permanent damage to it. This is a chart showing us natural hearing loss. So you can at least see on here that you have a higher percentage of hearing loss the older you get. These are the decibel ratings. So we start out at breathing, 10 decibels. 20 decibels will be like rustling leaves. 30 decibels, whispering. Then we start getting up to very high decibels, like a helicopter being 100 decibels, a police siren being 120, and fireworks being 140. That's our threshold of pain. That's where we start having severe pain in our ears. These are the effects of noise exposure. When a noise is too loud, when it is noise too loud, that is when it starts becoming painful, or even it can be up to 85 decibels. That's when you actually start having hearing loss. When it becomes painful or you become aware of how loud a noise is, it's usually already too late. We have a 2-foot threshold. If you have to shout, it's too loud. Here are the effects of noise exposure. So long-term noise exposure. There is no such thing as getting used to it or tough ears. Your ears will get damaged at the same rate as everybody else. You can recover from short exposure to loud noises, but over time, nerve damage will occur and it will be irreparable. We cannot fix it. There's no voodoo, magic, or technology that fixes the actual nerves in your ear. The longer and louder, the greater the chance of the damage. So usually, noise exposure is gradual, usually goes unnoticed, your actual hearing loss. Higher pitches goes first, so you can't hear higher pitches or certain frequencies. Human speech is one of the first things we lose the ability to interpret. And you can have ringing or tinnitus, which is your pitch being lost. Overexposure to loud noises can cause tinnitus or permanent ringing. Tinnitus can result in constant ringing, buzzing, roaring, or whistling in one or both ears, and can be severe enough to disrupt sleep, affect walking, and can even cause depression. Severity of nerve damage depends on two things: how loud it is, so the decibel rating, and the length of the time you are exposed to that loud noise. Most hearing loss is over time, but extremely loud noises, so over 140 decibels, as we saw in the graph previously, that is like fireworks, it can cause immediate damage. There are a lot of things that are over 140 decibels, as you can see in the picture. Gun firing close to your ear or a shotgun, it could be very loud, it could be above that 140, or as we saw in the graph, fireworks. Effects of noise exposure. So noise exposure, time to damage. So at 85 decibels in 8 hours, you'll have damage. 90, in 4 hours, you'll have damage. At 100, you'll have damage in 1 hour. At 105, you'll have damage in 30 minutes. At 110, 15 minutes. At 115, immediately. Hearing protection is designed to reduce the intensity of noise. So cottons, bit of cloth, cigarette butts, they are not effective. They do not have the molecular density to absorb and deflect sound. We'll talk about earmuffs. They have some advantages, but also some disadvantages, and we will go through those. The advantages is they cover the whole ear. They are very durable. Some can filter out very specific pitches, and they are cleanable, so we can reuse them. Disadvantages is they're expensive, they are bulky, and they usually prevent audible communication from your coworkers. We have earplugs. So the advantages would be foam, rubber, or plastic, so they are usually a great material. One size fits most. They are disposable, they are inexpensive, lightweight, and customizable for specific frequencies. Disadvantages, they can fall out and then cause infections if not cleaned properly. So overusing earplugs or the same pair of earplugs can cause ear infections. This is proper earplug insertion. So they must be inserted properly to provide maximum protection. You want to roll the plug in a small cylinder, then place it in your ear. You want to reach over the body with the opposite arm and lift the pinna, or the top of the ear. Insert into ear canal and hold in place for 20 to 30 seconds. That way it fully expands and it can prevent the most hearing loss. We have also canal caps. They do not go into the ear canal, only block from the outside. Occasional use only. They do not provide as much protection as plugs or muffs. They usually just protect from dust. They typically only have a 2 to 5 noise reduction rating. This is the noise reduction rating. Noise reduction ratings are measured in decibels. It's found on hearing protection packages. The higher the number, the greater the protection, but they are divided by both ears. So you can see on here, this protects you by reducing it by 30 decibels. Well, that's only 15 decibels per ear. If hearing protection is required, so if sound is above 85 decibels, the employer is expected to provide you hearing protection. What type of hearing protection are used in your company is going to be determined by any kind of assessment, and where you find hearing protection at the company is going to be determined by either a break room, a noisy area, or where they require them. Hearing protection is only effective if it is worn correctly. Some common excuses is only standing here for a moment, or I'm only going to be walking through here. That is not a good excuse. Easy to move in and out of loud areas, but damage is cumulative. So short bursts over long periods of time can cause damage. We can do audiometric testing, also known as a hearing test. So trained technicians use equipment to detect hearing loss. OSHA may require audiometric testing for workers exposed to excessive noise. They can require you to do the testing, have your employees tested. Most people develop mild hearing loss as they age, so natural regardless of exposure. Significant loss at a younger age may indicate overexposure to excessive noise, and yearly testing can detect early stages of hearing loss. Audiometric testing results can reveal if hearing protection in use at your facility or on your job is inadequate. If there is a medical condition of the ear unrelated to noise exposure as well, it's also good to just for a normal checkup of your ear. And then we have medical and personal records. So you have the right to view and get copies of your personal and medical records, including your noise exposure records. If you consistently are exposed to levels above 85 decibels, your company should entertain starting a hearing protection program. That is all we have for this safety meeting. I want to thank you guys for sitting through here and learning something, and I will see you guys next month. Thank you.